Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I will be reviewing Isles of the Emberdark by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 5th Secret Project book released by Sanderson. I did back the Kickstarter for this one. I'm still waiting for my physical copy, but I got an ebook edition in the meantime, and I've read through that one, and it was fine. It is certainly, of all of the books by Brandon Sanderson that I have read, and I have read all of them, all the Cosmere ones at least, it was certainly one of them. It was the most recent of all of the ones that I have read. And it was good. I almost didn't want to film a video about this because I don't have a ton to say about it, because it was just fine. It was on a perfectly good level. It's perfectly serviceable, perfectly enjoyable, but I didn't really connect with it a whole bunch. I'm going to get into the plot now. I am going to give a general kind of spoiler warning here, because I'm going to I'm not going to discuss like what happens in the plot. I'm not going to give any actual plot details in terms of developments away. I'll give you the high level of the plot, but I'll be discussing the characters that are involved and who they are and where they're from. And so if you don't want to know anything about this book, like, what planetary systems are involved and, who's involved, things like that, then this video will not be for you, because I'm going to be talking about those things. But as far as actual plot details go, I'm going to keep it to the basics. So, Isles of the Emberdark, what is it about? So it follows Sixth of the Dusk. This is a character that Sanderson introduced originally in a novella. He expanded that novella for this secret project. What he did was, he mentions this in his foreword, his introduction, that he felt weird publishing a full-length novel that directly follows the events of a novella that a lot of people may not have read or may not have access to or know how to read, even though you can find it in the Arcanum Unbounded collected edition. So he just incorporated the novella into the novel. So there's 5 parts to the book. Part 1, catches you up to the story in the present, but there are flashback chapters, which are basically just the original novella broken up. And he mentioned enriched in some way to just kind of flesh a few things out. But for the most part, it seemed like it was just the original novella rewritten there. So if you've never read the origin of Sixth of the Dusk in the Cosmere, you don't need to go and find it. It's here for you. So Sixth of the Dusk lives on the planet First of the Sun, which is an island planet. He lives on the main island called Potg. Potg is the most dangerous island that anyone could possibly imagine. Everything there wants to kill you. Dusk lives there as a trapper. And so he knows all of the tricks on how to survive this incredibly deadly island. What is trapped there? What is he actually doing there? There are birds on the island Potg which have magical abilities. And if those birds bond with you, they can bestow those abilities to you. So for instance, he has a bird that named Sak, S-A-K, a big black bird that sits on his shoulder, and Sak can project into his mind danger around him by showing him visions of his corpse. So he'll be looking at a tree, and he'll see his corpse lying at the foot of the tree, and he knows, okay, there must be these special clinging vines in that tree that are going to come down, grab him and trap him and starve him, or something like that. It tells him where the danger is and where he can avoid it. This island is basically being commercialized. People with new technologies from the planet have come in and kind of modernized it a bit with the help of ones that they call the Ones Above. The Ones Above are Scadrians. So if you've read Mistborn, you know who the Scadrians are. They are right now going out into the Cosmere and trying to get a monopoly and consolidate power on any place that has a perpendicularity. If you don't read Sanderson, this just sounds like such gobbledygook, and I'm not even close to done. So there's a perpendicularity on First of the Sun that the Skadrians want access to. They're kind of strong-arming the islanders, the natives of this planet, to cutting a deal with them that would give them like exclusive rights to it, the ability to control who goes in, who goes out. The perpendicularity is important because it's a portal that gets you into the Emberdark, or Shadesmar. If you're used to the Cosmere, that's what Shadesmar is. And it allows you to travel between planets, world hop. So very important. And Dusk is sad about this because progress is coming in, and progress can be good, but he, wants his people to retain some independence and not be reliant on these kind of very mean Skadrians. So he goes out into the Emberdark to search for an alternative for them, to let them keep their freedom. There is also another main character named Starling. Starling is a dragon, but Starling is stuck in her human form because she's been exiled from her home planet of Yolen. I think this is the first time dragons have been prominently featured in a Cosmere book. They've been referenced, but now we have a main character that is a dragon, and we learn a bit more about that race in the Cosmere. Pretty interesting. So Starling, is working on a spaceship. She's got a eclectic crew, and they're just picking up odd jobs, just trying to, again, retain some semblance of independence out there in the world. The crew includes other Cosmere entities that might be familiar to frequent readers. There's a Shade from the planet Threnody. There's an Aetherbound. There's also one of the Sleepless, which, again, I think this is the first time the Sleepless have been mentioned, but I'm not a scholar of the Cosmere, so I might be forgetting it. But the Sleepless are really cool. It's these race of people that each individual of them is made up of just a swarm of bugs, and each bug has like a specialty to it. Like this is a memory bug or a memory node. This is a bug that has a nose on it. So when the bugs are crawling, that one sits right here, so it looks like a nose. It's a gross imagery, and it's kind of one of my favorite things that Sanderson has come up with. It's a neat story. And of course, these two storylines are going to intersect in some way. I won't go into any more than that. Wow, that took forever to explain, and that was just the basics that get you started. Isles of the Emberdark. All of that said, I think it was good. I think it is a perfectly fine book. I did not devour it the way that I usually go through a Sanderson book. It took me almost a week to read, and it's under 500 pages. For comparison, it took me just under 2 weeks to read Wind and Truth, which was over 1,200 pages. It's not that it was missing interesting ideas. It was certainly a clever book, and the characters and the creatures and the different races that Sanderson has created to populate his Cosmere are awesome. Like he's got such a vivid imagination, and it really comes across. And for people who just love this universe and want to see it expand, you get more of it. You get even more Cosmere. Like the Cosmere is already so huge. There's been so many books, so many different planets, so many different magic systems. You think he's got to be slowing down at a certain point. Like you can't just keep adding to it. And he does. He keeps adding to it, and it keeps kind of working. Like it still works. But there is an issue here, which is that Sanderson is not the greatest writer. Like in terms of his prose, he has a very pragmatic way of writing. It's very simple. It's not very fancy. This is fine for books where his ideas are so impressive that they just have this wow factor, where just like the magic system alone keeps you reading it. Like for me, that's the first Mistborn. Like Mistborn to me is a pretty good book that is elevated by this absolutely amazing magic system. This book, Emberdark, doesn't really have that wow factor. It doesn't have the thing that allows me to overlook the fact that his writing is pretty pedestrian, for the most part. It's a little too straightforward to sustain itself when it doesn't have that wow factor. There's also, and this is something I've covered in a video before that I forgot about. There is a concern that I have about the MCUification of the Cosmere, where we've reached a point where I feel like you need to read every single thing in order to be caught up, and that is not my favorite model of storytelling. I like being able to dip in and dip out and still be able to feel like I'm getting a full story. And I just, now that there's been more characters introduced, there's been the effects from this book will most likely be seen in other Cosmere books. And maybe you can go without reading this and you be fine. But if you want the full story, you do kind of have to stop here and read it. And it's getting to be a little bit unwieldy. There's a little bit too much to keep track of. And for someone who is a casual enjoyer, despite the fact that I've read all of the Cosmere, I don't want to have to remember in like 5 years from now, like, okay, wait, there was like some line in Isles of the Emberdark about like this character. Like, was that what they were from? No, they were from this novella from before then. Like, God, you just can't keep it all straight. And it's worrisome. It's worrisome to me. I also personally, I prefer his more like pure fantasy stuff. His Cosmere is becoming very technologically advanced now, so it's becoming kind of science fantasy, sci fantasy, and I like those worlds a little bit less. Like all the spaceships and the machinery and like guns, like it's not quite what I'm looking for in fantasy. So, but again, usually his ideas are so impressive that I can ignore those things or get beyond those nitpicks. I wasn't able to quite do it for Isles of the Emberdark just because it didn't have that extremely impressive central idea. That being said, there are definitely some cool scenes in it. I liked being able to spend more time with Sixth of the Dusk. He was a cool character from the original novella, so I'm glad we got to go back to him. I am a little bummed about the way that the direction the story went, because I also liked the island of Pachi quite a bit from the original novella. So to see it basically completely different now by necessity, it is a shame. I kind of wish we got more stories before it got gentrified, for lack of a better word. Starling and her crew, I didn't love them. Starling, it's an interesting character. Cool to see dragons getting introduced into the Cosmere. Naz, he's a recurring character in the Cosmere. He's here as well. But their dynamic felt a little bit stilted, a little bit, again, that kind of MCU kind of dialogue where it's like, tell me you didn't just say that, like humor that doesn't land, that's really childish, and just really kind of on the nose, like found family type of tropes that feel unearned. So that part of the story, a little lackluster for me. So where does that leave us? It leaves us back to what I said in the very beginning, which is that Isles of the Emberdark is fine. It is not going to blow you away. I doubt it will be anybody's favorite Cosmere novel, but then again, to each their own. I'm sure somebody will say like, no, I really love this part so much because of this and blah, 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 blah. Great. I hope you enjoy it. For me, it was a middle of the road, totally fine book that I don't see myself really revisiting anytime soon. I will say for even though I didn't get my physical copy yet, the ebook does have the illustrations that come with the Kickstarter edition. Illustrations are awesome, beautiful. I've loved all of the art from these secret projects. It's been really great, and I don't regret buying into the Kickstarter. I really look forward to getting the edition in my hand. I think it's going to be really nice, like black leather with gold trimming. So really excited. I think that's going to look beautiful on my bookshelf. But there we are, my arbitrary and subjective grade for Isles of the Emberdark by Brandon Sanderson is a very mild 7 out of 10. Do with that what you will. If you've read this book, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today, but now it's time to get back to reading.